Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here on a very warm Monday afternoon in Portland, Oregon. It's 2 o'clock in Pacific. I've got some guys from all over the world today. Before we get started and talking to them about the current state of the UK and Salt Lake City, I want to thank my sponsors at 5 Star Guitars for being supportive of All Access Live. They not only have a fantastic selection of guitars, but they do lessons and repairs. So if you're looking for pro lessons and you want to get virtual lessons from pros like Jennifer Batten, you can go to www.5starguitars.com. They also have a blessing of no sales tax here in Oregon. So if you're looking online and you find fantastic guitars and you want to shop for a good price out your guitars online, then hit up 5 Star, talk to Joff Metz and tell him that I sent you, and he'll hook you up with a great price with no sales tax. Now, we were just reminiscing before I got started here on the conversation about where we might be if it weren't for the current state of affairs. And chances are we'd be backstage somewhere sharing a laugh. One of us may or may not be wearing pants. And so I would love to introduce to you my dear friends, Nick Van Eede and Gareth Moulton and Josh Thompson of Cutting Crew. Thank you for being here, gentlemen.
Our pleasure.
Evening.
We had a toast just before we started. We went live. Do you guys want to talk about what's in your carafes?
Well, I've got go on, Nick.
I've got a Glenfiddich 12-year-old that Gareth will tell you that he's tried to teach me the single malts, and I'm a bit of a glugger, I'm a bit of a blend, and not very sophisticated. But this one is my new find. Well, it's not, and it's just wonderful. It's about 35 quid, full price. You'll probably get it for about 28 quid, but it's a sensational drink. Glenfiddich, as you know, is a famous normal malt, but this 12-year-old, Gareth, any comments?
That 12-year-old particularly is delicious. I've discovered it myself independently, and yes, it doesn't last very long. That's the problem.
Exactly, yes.
I'm uncomfortable with you guys talking about delicious 12-year-olds, I have to say.
That's your brain that went there, okay?
How about you, Gareth? What's in your drink?
I've got a little cheeky Pinot Noir from New Zealand, which is
beautiful.
I had a bit of duck before. I thought that'd go very nicely with it, and it did. Lovely.
These are your nighttime drinks because it's
it's as you can see, the sun is sinking.
10 p.m. in the UK. I really appreciate you guys staying up so late for this. I do appreciate it.
We never normally do we?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure. If you're not gigging, I didn't know how many people are are early to bed. Hey, Josh, what do you have in your craft there?
The good kind of Corona.
There you go. Yeah.
Can I just say, folks, don't fall for Gareth's window in the background. That's actually a painting that he has a light on that he dims.
I love
just
that.
by the hour.
So that he can. He never has to go outside. Actually, that's.
I'm in a
nice.
dungeon constantly, like Joe Biden, apparently. So there you go. Yeah. I went political straight away. I can't believe it.
You did. Oh man.
Good God. Can I just, as an aside, that's the Corona that you saw there. Obviously, that's all the jokes are about. When it kicked off big time here, lockdown, and everybody panic bought everything off the shelves. The only beer that was left was Corona
of
on
course.
the shelf.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, how stupid are people?
Right.
I honestly thought that was it's just an American ignorant thing, but no, they did it there too.
It's a
People
pandemic.
Superstition, they're like, better not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just in case,
this is a good question to ask. When since we normally would have been backstage and talking, who dictates what goes in the rider? Nick, is that you for your Cutting Crew rider?
No, really very democratic, actually.
Is it? Okay, all right.
Yeah, with Gareth and I, when we play as pure Cutting Crew, we're pretty good on Jack Daniels. JD would be, I think, the first choice for the liquor. But since we've been doing a little bit with Feldman and Wang Chunga, I've noticed it's gone a little bit Jameson-y lately. So
bless you.
It does make you cough, doesn't it?
COVID.
Fuck it. I mean, anything that gets a little bit of hotness in the back of my throat is just fine.
Oh yeah, man, we're just we're getting all sorts of entendres there. You know, Josh took off. He didn't like to think about hot stuff in your throat. He ran away. So
Oh,
perhaps he's going to go get himself another Corona, or maybe he just didn't want to talk about the Democratic contribution to the rider. But
I'm very happy for Gareth. Very happy for Gareth to tell you what our rider was when we did a British tour, a 2.5 month long British tour with Go West. Can you remember those riders backstage, Gareth? The wine.
It would be incriminating to say anything, but
what
yes,
did you get?
There was basically no expense spent, is the phrase. So, yeah,
with Go West.
It wasn't their fault. Let me.
Yeah, it depends on who you have putting those shows together. And again, we may or may not have to talk about where those things start either. But I think the pecking order dictates a lot of times what you can get on a rider as well.
It's often way more random than that as well. I think you can ask for what you want, and
yeah.
If anyone could be bothered kicking off about it not being the right coloured M&Ms, then fair enough. But
there were some guests that I talked to from the Lost 80s tours that mentioned that their favorite parts, I think it was the Escape Club guys, were talking about, oh, we loved that barbecue in San Antonio, or actually not at San Antonio, Corpus Christi. But it's funny that those things stick in your mind, that the backstage catering may be more memorable than the gig itself.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. It does say a lot, doesn't it?
Well, I loved the gigs. I'm missing a bunch of them, but did you have shows booked at around this time, mid-July? Didn't you, just like one-offs or touring that you're planning on doing?
Go for it.
Well, I think I mean, ostensibly, your big word of the evening so far is probably even not the right word, but ostensibly about 22 gigs I've had cancelled, and I think maybe 18 of them were with Gareth. So that's right through till next May, June. Not any big tours, but that's just one-offs here and there.
Sure.
So it's been about just mayhem, and I wanted to go back to something we were just saying just before we went on air, that it has started to get to me now. I was really good, and I've got a beautiful big garden. I've got many things to get into mischief and to catch up on and all that, but it's just getting to me now, and I think it would be too hokey to say that I like to strap my guitar on and sing my songs. I think it really is just getting out and being amongst people and new people. I feed off new people. Don't do your double entendres again. I love it. I just think it's great to bump into idiots, beautiful, wacky, challenging people. I'm a Gemini, and that's what I live off. And just in the last 2 weeks, I found myself getting unreasonably grumpy.
Sure.
But mostly with myself. A lot of time I'm going to just be on my own. I think it is that. Give me some fucking people. You know?
Right. When I asked about the gigs right now in the US, and I know that this has happened a little bit in the UK and Asia, some of these gigs are popping up now. Hopefully socially distant. They've got drive-in gigs. Gord, our guitarist from Flock, plays it in Spoons, and Spoons have a riverboat gig coming up where the boat goes along the river and people stand on the banks, I guess, and watch the boat go by, play music.
That's pretty good.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but the drive-in gigs are strange to imagine because I can't picture people like getting energy off of people honking as they finish a song, but at this point, I know that people are desperate for live music, to listen to music and hit shows. And I think we can all agree that it's our lifeblood, being out there performing and being with those people is really important. I think one of the things for me that's been very helpful is doing the show, having some kind of communication with and commiserating with my buddies that I would normally be hanging out with. And so that talking, even though face to face is not, the virtual face to face isn't as helpful and cathartic. And I miss hugs. That's the biggest thing. I'm such a hugger, and I love getting you guys sweaty, after a gig. But I think we have to figure out ways to contribute, to our musical sense, and also connect with each other. I mean, you guys are on another continent. Do you stay at least in touch on WhatsApp and email, just catching up, the three of you guys?
There's always something going on a weekly basis, from somewhere. Yeah, because a lot of the previous WhatsApp groups that we have, for other tours, in other continents, stay alive, so somebody will pop up on that you haven't seen, from Australia or whatever.
Right.
It was somebody who's involved in,
Oh,
or so we
Jane
try to,
McKinnon. Jane McKinnon
Yeah.
just said hello from Adelaide, Australia. Great way to start her day.
well, there you go.
Yeah. And there are some benefits too that we can find, right? I mean, there's some bright, shining silver linings that you can find in the downtime. I think that if I'm hopeful that everybody has some kind of outlet that they can find to be creative. I know, Josh, you were writing a bunch of new material and working on your own stuff that you really hadn't had time to do. Nick, you sent me some of the new tracks that Cutting Crew, this new Cutting Crew album. Do you guys find that you're using that time to? You said garden. You've got a nice shiny garden there, but any blessings and silver linings that you found through the pandemic?
Well, definitely the kind of much more existential existence, where I realize that I am really good shutting a room. I can see joy in quite a few things, or if not joy, interest, or what. I mean, there's a famous joke going around with a British comedian who has found a button in his house that he's never seen before, and he's really scared whether he should press it or not. Well, I can't quite see it at the back here. There's a telephone there, but there's a button there, and I don't know whether to press it or not. It's red.
Yeah, I think this may be the time. Can we debut the button press right here on All Access Live?
Shall I do it, really?
Well, if this is the way to go out, you want to grab your wife real quick and have her come
I tell
in?
you what, just before the end, I promise you I'll press
Okay.
it.
That's how we'll end it. This is great. So that'll keep people around. And everybody here on the chat, make sure you stick around to the end of the conversation.
Especially the air traffic controllers at Heathrow, just in case the lights do go off.
Yeah. And Nick, you're in the southern part of UK?
Yeah, I'm right down near the seaside. In fact, the tousled hair is because I've actually just come from a swim. It's warm enough to swim in the ocean down here for the first time for me in years. So yeah, I'm about 4 miles from the sea, near Hastings.
By Hastings. Okay.
A very sort of historic place in our British history.
Right. Yeah. We did a fun gig in Bognor Regis there at the Butlins.
Come on, the famous Bognor Regis.
Yeah, interesting little event space there, I guess. But I heard that most families would take their children there early when they were real young. But it was beautiful. I loved it. And then you're in Manchester, right, Gareth?
Just south of Manchester in the Peak District in Macclesfield, which is not far. Yeah.
Did you say the Peak District?
How dare you?
The
Peak District.
Oh, the Peak District. Okay,
Peak,
sorry.
yes.
I'm a drummer. My ears aren't. Speaking of,
some people might.
I am in the Goat District of Los Angeles.
Not right now. Now you're in Salt Lake, right?
I am in Salt Lake City. Yeah, right now.
That's news to me.
Well,
yeah, doing some hibernating up here.
Oh, come on.
Nice little escape, huh? I would think that LA was Salt Lake is a nice respite from LA right now.
I just did 2.5 days in the wilderness with everything on my back with a friend of mine. It just, pumping clear water out of the stream.
Oh, great.
Oh man. Yeah.
See, that's the silver lining right there. Otherwise, you'd be stuck in a van or the back of an airplane somewhere, heading on to another gig. But
I just spent 3 days in a field near Birmingham in a van.
Really?
In the bongo.
In the bongo, you got it, Josh. Yeah.
What were you doing
Which
there?
is great. I just a couple of days away in the camper van. That's all. So yeah, but
nice.
being in the wilderness with everything on your back sounds a lot better, Josh, than field near Birmingham. It was very beautiful, by the way. But,
I bet.
Can I ask Kevin?
Yes, sir.
This is not very interesting for the stateside listeners, but viewers, should I say? So, can somebody from Oregon drive to Missouri? There's no sort of state checks or anything, regardless of how one state is doing better or worse than the next. So you can literally go anywhere, yeah?
Anywhere in the U.S., yeah. You can't go to Canada, can't go to Mexico right now.
Yeah.
One might not want to go to, say, Missouri. I mean, there are different places where the outbreak is certainly, is spiking. And Portland, Oregon right now is the epicenter of some really, really tragic things going on. So it's one place that one might want to,
Wow, I
escape
didn't
from right
know
now.
that.
Yeah. And I have heard that friends of mine from Germany actually sent me a note this morning saying they watched it on international news and they were concerned. It is something troubling, and it's my escape to come on All Access Live and kind of just discard that for a little bit, because it's very rare that I let things keep me up at night. I don't watch.
You're talking about the guys in camo, yeah, appearing.
The military police that have been
military police, yeah,
that have been abducting people randomly, strangers, innocent people, and detaining them.
That is deeply worrying.
Yeah, it is. So
swiftly moving on.
Well, yeah, like I said, there's a lot outside my control. My biggest challenge with it is talking to my kids about it, right? Because political things, we were really open about just talking about, choosing appropriate electoral candidates and making a difference locally, either in your community or statewide, so that you can sort of affect any kind of outcome, just within your grasp. But right now, so much is out of our control that I don't have a lot of answers for my kids in terms of like best practices. And so I look at all the things that are right within my grasp, like reaching out to my friends and talk, even if, it's a conversation about what it's like there. When you talked about people's response to the Corona beer being, a byproduct of the virus. Yeah, it's ignorance and, anti-science people. I think there are anti-science people everywhere. And and that bothers me a lot. But it's, again, I can't affect those people. I can just wear my mask and listen to people that have a lot more experience and education than I. And so I really focus on those things that are positive outlets. I talked about not playing a lot of music. Our friend Mike Skill from the Romantics actually just we did some recording years ago, and we just shot a music video the other day for a song that we did about 8 years ago. Great tune, and it was the first chance for me to play drums in 5 months, and I got to shoot this music video with my mask, and then he left the room for a bit so I could take the mask off and play a little bit. But I can't believe how much it changed my outlook for a few days just to hit drums and be around other musicians and talk to them in the same room about what they're experiencing, and their families are going through. The families are being affected in such weird ways too, and I have a lot of clients that are in education, and so they're scrambling, trying to find ways to use distance learning to, teach a curriculum, and it's tough on like tactile classes, art classes, having no sort of hands-on contact to be able to teach sculpture, right? They have to do this through a Zoom chat. It's funky, but pretty remarkable that the entire world is adapting quickly. Thank God for technology, for us to be able to do this, right? Yeah. I covered a whole bunch of really uncomfortable subjects there. I want to go back to Gareth on the veranda in the Dominican Republic. Gareth, you had this wonderful 3-part saying that, and I go back to that. Do you want to rehash it so I don't have to play my video here?
I think I was maybe slightly worse for wear, but unusually, yeah, was it something like oh god, now you play it, go on if you can. Yeah, because you'll see
how worse for wear you were.
It was something which was close to my heart, really, which is the fact that people think that they can't do certain things creatively. So my point was, if you can write, you can draw, and if you can speak, you can sing. And the third thing I had for you was if you can dance. And I think I said something like "the world's your own" or something crap like that.
The world's your own. Yes.
The world's your own.
Yes.
But it sort of meant that. I sort of meant it because I remember seeing Ry Cooder years ago and saying, if you can't get your body into the playing as a guitar player, then you're not getting anywhere. You're not getting it. You're not actually getting into it.
Right.
So drummers by nature, obviously have to move the body sympathetically, but a lot, guitarists don't have to do that. They can just sort of execute, so once you get the whole body involved, something different happens, definitely. And that was kind of what I was getting at, but definitely, drawing and writing, like I said, if you can pick up a pen and write your own name, you can draw. You just need to retrain your eye to see what's there and communicate with your with your pen.
I know that.
I like that.
Yes, Josh is he's actually he's gonna go pen a new hit right there. You talked about the movement, Gareth, and I was watching some videos of the three of you guys playing, and with our pal Nick Feldman, on bass as well. It's amazing to watch all these gigs where there's so much personality that comes out of you when you're playing. When you talk about not being a shoegazer and standing there. I don't know if you were ever that person, Gareth. Watching you on guitar, it's remarkable, man, because you can be softly sophisticated and understated talking with you, but when you get on stage, there's an animal that comes out that's really, really fun to watch. So I love it. And the two of you guys, Nick, when you and Gareth are together, you're beaming and looking at each other. You're constantly feeding off each other, which is really, really, to me, as a fan in the audience, it's the most enjoyable part of the show. Because usually I'm just stuck watching Josh. All I do is just like we watch Josh and throw stuff at him and heckle him. But it is pretty remarkable to see that the connection that you guys have. How long have you guys been playing together, Nick and Gareth?
I always get this answer wrong, so I think I'd hand this to Gareth.
It's I think it's 16 years.
16. Yeah, it's long. That's a lifetime in music for sure.
Since we met, certainly since I think one of the first gigs we did was in Hamburg on the harbour there, if you remember that festival.
Really?
It rained all the time. And,
yeah,
we've been through some stuff. I remember breaking my finger once backstage, waiting for the big encore. I Just Died in Your Arms, and I sort of sneak off the back so Gareth has his wonderful 5 minutes, and I'm in the back there, and you can hear some and I fall over a drum case and completely snap my finger like this. It's just hanging like that. Of course, I have to walk back on after Gareth's held F-sharp notes and start playing my acoustic version, and I just walk on and go, "Ain't gonna happen tonight, folks."
Oh man, did you just a cappella?
Yeah, exactly, just vocal. Yeah. Point being, we've had some wonderful highs, wonderful lows. I do remember, just tying it into your statement, is that, Gareth, what did you do? Did you break your arm, your elbow, or something? I
broke my arm, shattered my elbow.
There you go. You can never outdo him. I do my finger, he does his arm.
How did you do that?
So there were about 5 or 6 gigs where he wasn't beside me, and lovely guitarists, but absolutely from the bottom of the heart of my bottom. I mean, it is very special, Gareth. It's very special on stage. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I know what we project out that people get. So when he wasn't there, it was a good show and everybody liked it, but there's another 25, 30, maybe 35% that isn't happening. Yeah,
no, that I would bet that your fans reach out afterwards too. When those gigs that Gareth wasn't there, I'm sure they were disappointed, asking for their money back, just because that 30% is important. You have so many fans checking in from all over the world. I'm looking at all those people. Brandy from Los Angeles said that she saw you on the 80s cruise, as did Brian. Oh, wow. He met you in Florida. Loke Robertson, we've seen him on many of these gigs, and he's watching. He wishes he could be at a Cutting Crew concert right now. He's saying more people from Adelaide, more people from Germany. This is great. Lots of 80s Cruise fans. That 80s Cruise thing, they contacted us just in March. I think you guys were going to be in Japan. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And they just B-52 is canceled. Brett Michaels canceled. Yeah. They tried to throw a whole bunch of money at us last second to get on that cruise. And even the cruise had already left. And then they tried to throw more money and saying, okay, get on the next stop. But, Mike was in Liverpool and our guitarist is in Toronto. It's almost impossible to make all that happen. And I think those things might happen for a reason. I did talk to quite a few band members that were on that gig that they came home ill, so it's a little scary. But we'll see how it goes for the next round.
I know one guy. Sorry to interrupt you, Kevin. I know a friend of mine, Damien, who's a singer, and he was
Damien.
Yeah, Damien, and he got stuck on the ship that he was on the cruise for, so until I think it was there 2 months, moored off a mile off Barbados. So obviously couldn't leave the thing, and I mean. There are worse. I think there are worse places to be. I'm not sure though. I think that would have driven me absolutely mental.
Yeah, no, it's not like you can go into Barbados.
No, exactly.
Look at Barbados. You just look at it out the portal.
There it is.
Yeah. No, Brandon McDaniel says this year was a nightmare with seasickness that they had to. So, some of that stuff just happens by the way of taking a cruise. But what we're hoping that pandemic gets remedied with a vaccine. We can all get on and wear our C bands and do more of those, because we've got lots of fun rocking to do. When was the last time that the three of you guys played together?
Oh my God,
Josh.
Come on, Josh.
Japan.
Japan, of course.
Yep.
Of course. God, that was good.
Yeah. So how many shows did you do?
God, that was great.
2, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just the 2, yeah. It was all the way there, just for those 2 shows. It was worth every second.
Every second.
Yeah. So tell me about those gigs. What was so special about that one?
Go, Josh.
You want me to go? It tell you what was special about him.
I'll tell you what was special.
I'll tell you what was special about him. No, it was they were. It was my first time in Japan, and there's that. And then for me personally, I happened to arrive there at a time whenever I was going through something really difficult, and being around these guys and getting to play this music was the best, just biggest release that I needed it. And I think it may have been for me personally, in terms of how I feel. I know I probably made some mistakes, but it's the best damn show I've ever played.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of it. So yeah, it was special for me.
That's okay. I know what you're talking about. You and I chatted a little bit before that, and I'm glad you got that release. That's as important as that's therapy,
Yeah.
How
about you, Nick? What was you've played Japan before? I think
we played there 5 or 6 times back in the 80s, and the changes in the country are remarkable, and quite obviously that was a long time ago. And the graph, I imagine, would be steeper in a place like Japan than in Munich, So a lot of that, I used to just say it was like going to another planet back then. It really was. It isn't anymore. The culture is still very vivid. We really delved in deep, apart from, as far as I know, the sex bars. I'm not sure, but we were treated beautifully as always, and courteously. The show, the gear, and the setting up of the nearly all girl lady techs, weren't they, Gareth? It was just wonderful. We were in great hands. But my point is, so that kind of, I remember back in the 80s, if you sat at the wrong seat, or you got up too soon, or if you took your drink too early, all those social mores were very strict, and you could be castigated and feel very foolish back then. That's just about gone now. But the magic of that country is still there. And I'd said to Gareth, even if we don't get another gig here, we have to go back. We have to. It's just, it has to be dug deeper into.
I think I remember. I don't recall ever an audience being so attentive, so quiet, and like focused.
Right.
Man per woman per man per woman. Just like totally rapt. No noise, no nothing. Just do the show. It's almost unnerving.
Right.
They're like, what's going on?
Do they not
normally
like us?
going, yeah, exactly.
Right.
But they were just so into it. Like, this is it.
Being so
and of course, we were talking about digging deep. We did find the Hammond orgasm bar.
Oh, wow.
Please tell me you played there.
If only. It's wow, what a place. What a place that is.
So did you take a few days on the other side to hang out and just explore?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the deal was 2 gigs, 4 days. So we
Okay.
did. And we didn't get out of Tokyo. It wasn't really enough time. But like the Hammond Orgasm, can I just correct that in case you're thinking whatever you're thinking? Not that I give a damn, but the Hammond Orgasm bar was this tiny little bar. Gareth, half the size of your studio.
You can't conceive how small this place is. When you describe it to people and say, you know, it's like somebody's kitchen.
Okay.
Literally.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, that's it, with a bar on one side and then that's it. But then 2 huge Hammond organs at the end, which are like, you know, together.
Really? Like a piano bar that they're doing the dueling piano kind of thing?
And then a tiny little drum booth as well at the side, just behind the bar.
Okay.
So you could actually get a gig in there, but seriously, you get like one person sitting on one keyboard and then one person on the same stool. That's only that much room, you know.
So do you walk up to the bar from outside to get your drinks and watch the music, or
that's the other story. We'd been told you have to go there. So we've got the Google Maps, you know, geolocation down, you know, to a foot. Can we find it? No, we're just walking around. I'm going, it's here. I'm a good scout. It's here. It says so. Look, you know. And the only clue that there was to it was there was a letterbox down at foot level that had the name of the bar on, you know. So we assumed it was somewhere in this building. So we just got in the lift and went up and
it was just
found the floor. It's literally a closet.
Yeah.
It's not someplace you hang out for hours at a time, but you do have to visit it, I'm sure.
You could though. And they're so welcoming and so great in there, you know. So it's a wonderful place. It really is well worth seeking out if you're ever in Tokyo.
You know, I passed on Tokyo. We had 5 shows booked with the band that I was in, and I passed to go do some other sightseeing in Canada, of all places. It was with another original band I was in years ago, and I really regret it. I don't have a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas in my life, but it's someplace that I'd love to go. And in Australia, it's the other. You know, those are the 2 places that I just kind of missed out on touring, and I really want to go. But obviously, you guys have a massive following in Australia. Early on in the days, Nick, the band did well there as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had proper hits there, but we never toured. We were down there many times shooting videos and shooting, you know, doing the big Top of the Pop shows, whatever they were. So, but we never, apart from a couple of sort of, what do you call them, playing for Universal Music or whatever it was, we never left Sydney. And I'll tell you a quick story that I've shared a few times, and it gives you an example of the, what's the word, the obscenity of the 80s, of the money that was sloshing around in the business back then, which makes us doing this now, you know, for nothing. It doesn't cost a penny this, and having a great time, and hopefully.
Oh, wait, did you not get my invoice? No, sorry. Go ahead. sorry, go ahead.
Touché. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching it, but back then, you know, money was it, and money bought everything. So we just had the hit. So we had a little bit of power, you know. We thought we just had a #1 in America. That at least we can choose our video director for this next album. So we got the show reels, and we went, no, not him, no, not him, no. And then we found this guy called Alex Proyas, who's an Australian, and he just directed The Raven, the film with Brandon Crowe. I think he died in it, in the shooting. Yeah. So that had nothing to do with that choice. He was just very, very good. So we said, yeah, we'd love to shoot our video with this guy. And of course he said, yeah, all right, mate, you come down here then. So we, the band and about 10 other people, all flew to Sydney to shoot this video. And we're like, no, surely perchance you come to us in London.
Right.
Nah, you come down here. I've got some great sites. I've got some great ideas. And we shot the whole video in a warehouse.
No, you didn't. Oh my God.
Two videos actually. And to rub salt in the wound on the video for the scattering, they gave us the weekend off. Said, guys, you know, you work very hard. Go and have some fun in Sydney, you know, eat some good food. They went to New Zealand on the weekend and shot this beautiful scenes of of a stand-in for me walking a horse along the beach. And when they got back on the Monday, they said, "Would you like to see what we did on the beach?"
No,
that wasn't you.
It wasn't.
Oh my God. Oh, maybe they were afraid of your manhood slipping out or something like that. Wide angle lenses were tough back then. So sorry.
So anyway, that it was obscene.
Wow.
Obscene.
How different have you noticed? Like, because you guys have played a lot of shows around the UK, a lot of touring in the US. Besides the enrapt attention that you got from the Japanese audience, do you feel like you get a different response from people, say Canada versus the southern states or UK?
That's a good question. I think Germany years ago was always different, notably
How
for
so?
me, in that the Germany seemed to still have hold a candle, you know, for sort of live rock music in a way that the UK had sort of dropped a little bit.
Okay.
You know, just in my experience, that might be wrong, that, you know, that observation, but to me, they always seemed to be up for it, you know, and there always seemed to be places to play for people,
sure,
which were fewer in the UK at that time. So it's flipped around a bit with the advent of the rewinds and the sort of you know, the 80s.
Right.
Kind of,
Absolutely, that's the point. You know, when you do these multi-act shows where people are coming not just for Cutting Crew, quite rightly, and you get your 4 or 5 songs, that's different. And then you can compound that with these cruises, and all you lovely people that are on the cruise or in Punta Cana, you know, these 80s aficionado nutters.
Right.
I mean, it just gets ramped up even more, you know.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? Don't you love that people get to escape all the mundane things that they're going through in their life, or the, you know, the political stuff, or their bills and their children, and they can come out and dress up like they did in 1989 with you know, the hair up and the outfits, and they discover a whole new family network. You know, like the people in Dominican Republic, they've got the Sanders, and, you know, the Lost 80s folks. I mean, they gather, and it's not just like a pre-funk before the shows, but they'll travel as packs to come out to see these shows, and they become sort of a second family for the bands. You know, I think I watch a lot of them follow you guys. And Josh, I know that you'd seen so much of this happen in Wang Chung too, that you develop sort of an additional friend set. They're almost like a you know, distant cousins that will end up flying everywhere in the country or even out of the country to come see you. I think we're so blessed to get that opportunity, you know, because I can't imagine, I would not have been able to imagine that the resurgence of the 80s would really bring about that sort of, you know, sort of fanaticism for, you know, for the bands and the music, but it's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. How about for you? And Gareth, you mentioned Germany was kind of a light early on in the day when you were playing with them. Nick, back in the 80s, when like Died in Your Arms Tonight just blew up, where do you feel like was the real like epicenter of the fanaticism starting?
Oh, very easy question, and that's, I hope it's interesting enough to your people watching, and that is that, you know, that song was recorded, we hadn't even finished the album, and the record label are going nuts about it and want to release it, and I'm begging them, because I was 26, 27, so I wasn't a baby anymore. I was saying, just put something else, release the album, you know, then hold that one back if it's such a special song. No. So they released it in Britain before the album was even out. Really? So of course it was, you know, top 5. We become little pop stars in Britain, and there's nothing to back it up with. And then by then, it's a year has gone by, and the United States, we have the number 1, and Japan number 1, and everything. So the smallest market in the world for me is Britain.
Sure.
We sold more albums in Norway than we did in Britain.
Did you?
Yeah, and this is where I live, and so we have this interesting thing where probably 60% of our gigs are in Britain, and we're on the festival bills. We're down there somewhere, no problem at all. Come over to the States or to Canada or other places, it's a whole different story.
Right.
So when it really started to kick in big time was when we flew in as these, you know, these tried and tested musicians for 10 years of our life, but we were just little frightened rabbits. You know, we were on the Johnny Carson show. We got a Grammy Award. We're supporting Huey Lewis in Orange County. Then we're flying from there for a Bangles gig, you know. And that's when it was quite astonishing. So the American fans always have been right on it. Very, very well read. You know, they know what they're talking about backstage when you meet people. I mean, there was a few honeys that came back that didn't really want to talk about the B side of the first single, but
and you didn't cast them away because they weren't schooled in your discography.
I was quite happy to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about.
Absolutely, as a fine gentleman should. The Josh, tell me about this pairing when Wing Chong and Cutting Crew started doing these gigs together, and you talked about it being the Winging Crew. Is that right?
Wanking Crew.
Wanking Crew, right? Yeah. So
I did not come up with. I believe that was either Nick or Gareth. It was one of you guys.
That sounds like a Feldman thing for sure. But what a cool opportunity though for fans to get to see these great songs from two bands. You know, it's like more bang for the buck, right? And you tour well together. You get to share a couple of members together, and every single person in both of those bands is so much fun. Unless you guys are putting on a complete show, I know that when I hang out with you, it lightens the mood everywhere we are, even if it's a stressful gig. You know, I really, really enjoy the fact that you guys do have this ability to just bring a positive spirit about it. So when the two bands are touring together, is it as much fun as one might think?
I'll just speak up and say,
go for it.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, man.
It is so much fun. Not only the combination of wonderful people with just hyper focused, intentional, just we are here to serve the music and to serve the people, and it just the purest of intentions and pure motives and everything. it's absolutely wonderful. And you know, I've been treated like royalty by these guys. You know, that I really have, and I love it. That was a whole other chapter that started, and when it did, it really kind of took it to a whole new level for me. So,
you know, I'm glad that you brought that up about the treatment. I'm sure you gentlemen would agree that sometimes a drummer might be sort of considered that afterthought. You know, we kind of get like the bottom of the barrel respect in some ways, and but I remember Josh talking about this treatment that he got from you. I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a documentary called Hired Gun. It's out. Netflix has it right now. It's a fascinating documentary. It's great. But one of the, I guess, heartbreaking moments is to see Liberty DeVito talking about his time with Billy Joel. And after a whole lifetime of supporting him as a friend and as, you know, a collaborator, really getting an ultimate shaft. And it's hard to watch. But you hear a lot of times about the hired guns or the musicians that kind of come in as an afterthought being second-rate citizens. And I've never thought that about you guys and Josh too. You with the Wing Chun guys. I mean, it's great. A lot of it has to do too with you and your personality and the way that the energy that you bring. You're a phenomenal player, but you're also just a genuinely wonderful human being. And so I'm glad that they recognize it. And it really shows up when you guys play live. And there's no way that we'd have this many fans that are chiming in with all these great questions and positivity about you guys if that synergistic thing wasn't happening on stage. You know, there's magic that gets made with you guys. And I'm, you know, it just wouldn't be the same if it was a different ensemble, right? You know, Nick, you talked about the shows that Gareth couldn't do because he shattered his shoulder or elbow trying to outdo you and your wounds. But, I watched some of those videos, Nick, early on in the day. There was a hard rock vibe about your style, not so much about the music. The music was really like wonderfully crafted pop music. But there was this hard rock edge. You dressed with all leather. You had this like, you know, kind of, there's like video of you looking biker gang and, you know, on the top of the pop shots. And you had this eyebrow thing, man. It was kind of like like the seduction, that's the thing. Do you feel like you entered your career with Cutting Crew with that kind of rock edge primarily, and then softened for the pop side?
Yeah. Well, I came from a three-piece new wave, sort of skinny, thrashy, everything played like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Not punk, but nutty.
Yeah.
And that was totally the way I played guitar and the way I was on stage. When I met Kevin, he was very languid, very poised, and he'd much rather play Robert Fripp songs, of which I was a huge fan of as well. And he liked maybe one of the 150 songs I played in from my other band.
Okay.
So it was a merging of the two. But I always wanted it to be harder. I mean, that's where I came from.
Yeah.
Terry Brown produced the first album, and hey, I don't think it softened. I just think it went wider. It went very sort of, themic, anthemic, and all that sort of word. And I don't regret a damn thing. But as soon as we put it on stage, then we had our chance to grab it back. And so you'll see right through from those days right up to with Gareth and Josh in Japan. It's a rock band.
Yeah.
But you can't undo history. American radio programming. Once you get slotted into that tiny, I'm not sure if it's still the same. Once you get slotted into that pop thing, that's hard to get out of.
Oh no, absolutely. There were some videos that I found that you did, sort of dedicated solo artists with a whole bunch of other stars. I don't know if it was charity events or anything like that, or something that you did with Klaus Meine, the Scorpions. What was that all about?
I'm in this thing called, sometimes I don't know.
well, that's okay. I got my Scorpions shirt on as
I noticed
a tribute. Now but you mentioned the German connection, Gareth, and really feeling like that was something. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Klaus Meine is one of my favorite singers on the planet. When I heard what you did on the Abducted by the 80s Back to the Basement show, where you did your stripped down version of Died in Your Arms Tonight, and then was it the John Legend song? Is that what you did? Or
Say Something.
Say Something. I mean, everybody watching was in tears. The purity of your voice is astounding. It's incredible, man. And not to say anything about our age, but as we get older, a lot of singers really lose that range and the purity, and it's uncanny how you still have just, I don't know what kind of warm-up regimen, I don't know what kind of training you've had, but and I'm not sitting here trying to kiss your ass. I'm telling you, I'm blown away by it. So I wondered if I'm going to pair it back to the Klaus Meine connection, because I'm a huge fan of his pure, clean voice. But did you have influences like that back in the day?
Not really. I have to be honest.
Okay.
I came from that Elvis Costello, XTC, The Police, Freddie and the Dreamers.
Okay.
That's a joke for Gareth.
Yeah, thank you.
So no, I didn't aspire to, and I just wanted to tidy up that last question, and that is that on my Saturdays off occasionally, I play for a band called the Soulmates, and they're put together by Leslie Mandoki, who's this sort of uber powerful, strange ability to pull all these people into one band. So that was part of that, and I have the privilege to sing in a band with Randy Brecker on trumpet and Bill Evans on sax, and Corey Henry on keyboards. Imagine.
Wow.
Jack Bruce was there in the band for a while.
Wow.
I can go on and be very boring, and I'm just a tiny piece in that machine. But getting to my point, I'm very, very lucky to be able to still sing the way that I have to hit the bar. As soon as I don't hit that bar, Kev, I'm off.
That's it.
And I don't mean that in any pompous way. And
Sure.
so I'm very, very lucky. And I've been surrounded by lots of people who they ain't hitting that bar quite so much, but they're still doing it out there. And I watch that, and it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Sure.
I hope this comes across to everybody that's listening. I don't mean this one bit preciously, but when the time comes, I'll go to the garden.
do you see that as an you're doing a disservice to your fans if you come out there and you just can't physically pull that part off anymore?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many. Oh God, this can only sound sickly. Maybe I shouldn't. But you're dealing with a lot of memories. You know, a lot of very very precious memories.
Right.
Every week on our Facebook and Twitter, you know, we get thousands of messages in there, and the more it spreads, the wider people from the way back get in touch and bring up memories that I've completely forgotten. You know,
Sure.
it's just nice to be told things that the old man can't remember.
Well, you know what's really neat about that is you talked about being 26, 27 years old when the band was taken off, and you got dreams of stardom at that point. You're writing these great songs, but you're probably not thinking about affecting generations, right? You probably wouldn't have thought that 35 years later, people are going to be telling you about, you know, we just celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary and your song was our song at the wedding, right? I know that so many people fell in love to your songs, had their first, you know, consummation to your songs, whatever, you know. I mean, it's a real blessing, and I love that you don't take that for granted. You know, and none of us should. I think musicians that kind of overlook that and they just collect their check at the end of the night are just missing out on the best parts of what we've gotten to do, right?
So totally, Gareth and I and Josh latterly, you know, we've sat in the wings at our big festival in Britain that is all the 80s stuff is called Rewind.
Yeah.
There's Let's Rock now, you know, Let's Keep It Balanced. And we played for both of them. And we play, as I told you, in Britain, we go on fairly early, you know, so we're done. And we can either F right off and, you know, go home, or we can sit there and drink the free beer and stay through to 11 o'clock at night, don't we, Gareth?
Play dice.
And we watch this procession of hits, you know, because you only get to play your hits. And for us, it's great, you know, some are good, some aren't so good, but watching the fans, this is the bit that I guess the point you're making is these people they're in absolute heaven. It's just like taking them by the hand through high school years, maybe pre-high school,
right,
engagements, marriages, then you get into funeral songs and all that stuff, you know. And I just sit there sometimes watching, and it's quite moving, really. You know, I often enjoy watching the crowd more than the band.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You know, meeting people at those tours that we do together that have children is my favorite thing on the planet, because they are oftentimes unjaded. You know, they may not know any of the bands when they come in, but they feed off the energy. You know, they came because their parents said, "Oh, you got to hear this song." And maybe they heard a couple of those songs on the radio, but you've got an opportunity to make an impression and a connection with these people that, again, it's a whole new generation. I stay in touch with a lot of those families because I feel like you mentioned doing a service for them. You know, when you go out there and you're providing 100% on stage, if you can follow up with them and show them how much you appreciate their support, it's to me, it's one of the most fulfilling things you can do. You know, I love that so many of the bands that we all play with are like that. You know, it really is a neat thing that if somebody will bring their kid backstage, you know, all the bands kind of like hang out with that kid and show them the ropes. And, you know, you guys have all been incredibly gracious with my own children when they've been out at, you know, shows. And I think, you know, Nick, when you did your charity thing for the Back to the Basement and you had your daughter come in and share the notes behind you, very tongue-in-cheek but really fun. You can tell that you've got a great connection with children too. So do you have more than your one daughter?
Just Lauren.
Okay.
Just Lauren, and it was her idea really, and of course it's not the most original idea ever, but I did like the tongue-in-cheek side to it.
Yeah.
And that got a lot of comments. She's a perfect example, just like Gareth's nephews, and I'm sure Josh's younger family members as well. You know, there is another generation there. Of course, she's grown up with me, so she knows the inside jokes, but she loves it when one of her friends says, you know, did your dad write that song that's, you know, the new advert for ravioli or something,
right.
You know, and it's a cover version of it, you know, so they're hearing, it all gets very complicated, but it gets handed on down through the generations. She's a cool kid, and Yeah, she knows where the skeletons are buried, definitely.
Does she? Like, oftentimes, the folks that I've been talking to, they're just too close to it, right? Their kids are too close to it, and they see you having to do your laundry and take care of the house, and so they don't recognize that. Yeah, my dad is that rock star that was playing in front of the 100,000 people at that show. Is it that way with you guys, or is your daughter, is Lauren, pretty familiar with the fact that my dad he's the man?
Oh no, she's cool. Yeah, she's totally cool. Yeah. I mean, I can, if she watches a rerun of this or something, because I know Nikki's trying to film it. I mean, I can tell you, she was because my wife is a production manager, tour manager. So when I'm not doing this, Nikki's looking after Holly Johnson, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and Carly Simon, the Foo Fighters, and everything. So Lauren has grown up in that world. And I do remember just once, we took her to Brighton to see a big pop band over here called Boyzone. And, it ended, everybody went, and I said, let's go home. And she was like, no, we're going to go back now and meet the band, aren't we? And have drinks with them. She was 9 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And Nikki said, no, this is just a gig. We're not working this one.
Oh, yeah. That's pre-entitlement phase. Yeah, my oldest son, he got pretty used to that, the hanging backstage. And so he was really disappointed. He had, the expectations of a 9-year-old. Josh knows, I interviewed Kenny Aronoff a couple of days ago, and he was talking about his first moments seeing the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, watching the Beatles, and telling his mom, I want to be in that band. And she said, yeah, okay. And he said, no, call them. And he cried because she wouldn't call the Beatles to get him in the band. And, the innocence of those youth. But he said she was still around and got to watch me 50 years later playing with Paul McCartney right next to Ringo, playing for the Kennedy Center. And I said, all right, you win. That's a great culmination of some accomplishments. But I think, the families right now that have been coming out to these shows, they do sort of introduce the magical side of the 80s, to their kids. I mean, they talk about the benefits of how light-spirited everything was when we were at that age, and the music reflects it. So when they come out, they kind of expect to have the party vibe, the sort of the high energy, the costumes, and the great thing about those package shows is you can get 4 or 5 songs from every band and fill out a whole day of hit after hit after hit. For us as the musicians, and sometimes that doesn't get talked about, we too get to reconnect not only with our buddies, but as you guys know, man, I'm right up front. I'm Facebook living you guys and watching from the side of the stage, and I feel like I'm the luckiest fan on the planet to get to be part of those shows where I get to be almost a part of that experience, to hear these songs, these iconic songs played by people that I have so much respect and admiration for. So I don't mean to ever gloat when I'm at those shows, but I feel like I can't believe I'm here and I'm getting paid for it. So when I watch you guys play together, I kind of think,
wait, you get paid
from
What?
Josh. Yeah, Josh.
You get paid
from Josh. Yeah,
They're handing out checks. What?
Josh pays me to come and watch you guys, and it makes it. Yeah, he calls me the party starter. But, when I see you guys playing on stage, it looks like you're having enough fun that if the money wasn't happening, you would still do it for the fulfillment. But that's all we have to do right now while gigs are not happening. But yeah,
that's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, can I just say that since Gareth joined the band yesterday, 16 years ago, the show changed. The moment he entered the band, because of what he does and what Kevin, not what Kevin couldn't do, but Kevin wasn't interested in. Kevin had his way, and I love him to death, and I miss him every single day of my life, and I really mean that. But when Gareth joined the band, it was a new invigoration and a new take on it. And I think it might be an interesting question to throw at Gareth. I'm sure he'd be comfortable with it. But when you do join a band and you're not the original guy, and you've got to kind of take on all that stuff, I just think he's been quite supremely brilliant in the way he's balanced that. And then Wang Chung, and then Wang King. Was it Wang King Crew? I was refilling my whiskey at that point.
King Crew.
Yeah, it's a very it's an incredibly it's a bridge you have to cross in a certain way. So I mean, I love you to death, Gareth. And I think you pull it off immaculately. Yeah.
Well, that's a good place to pause.
I heard him actually answer that question, Nick, in
go.
Salt Lake City 2 years ago. I think we were backstage, and somebody came in and said, yeah, you know, I'd love for you to sign this Cutting Crew album. You know, I loved your stuff back in the early days. And there's always that moment, right, where us new guys, we have to say, I don't think you really want me to sign over, you know, the original artist on the back of the record. But if you're open about it, and I do remember you being so diplomatic, because there's nothing disparaging about anything that you said, but you did gracefully enter the conversation with, you know, I think it's a brilliant record. I wasn't originally, and I don't remember the phrase, you know, the way that you said it, but it was a way that didn't make the person feel stupid for not remembering. And you expressed your gratitude about the position you're in right now. And I don't think anyone that comes to see you play and sees your execution walks away from that show feeling like, man, it's just not the same. That never happens with you, you know. And I will say, I am in that position, right? I mean, the original drummer from A Flock of Seagulls was Mike's brother, right? And so he's not been in the band a long time, but people will come up and they'll say, I loved it on IRAM when you guys put that out, that first video. And I said, yeah, you know, in 82, I was 12, but I don't take offense to the fact that they say that I look 68 or 69, but then when they argue with you, that's the funny thing, Gareth. Do they do that? They say, no, you were the guy. And I'll say, no, I'm actually not. No, you were, because I saw you. You don't get that? That's the conversation I get often.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jack,
let me interrupt.
You're looking so great.
I didn't mean anything about putting Gareth in this position. I meant when he's standing on stage and he straps that guitar on.
Yeah,
that's the beauty. He's nothing about, you know, signing albums and that stuff, because that's another world.
I missed the beginning of that. Sorry, I think it froze up, so I actually missed the very beginning of that point. But I'm gathering what it was about now. So yeah.
Well, it's about standing on stage with a guitar, and that, you know,
that's all you can do is be yourself, though. Surely,
yeah.
You know. So and you bring yourself to it, and that's pretty much as far as it goes. You know, you play the right notes in the right order, hopefully. You know, but
well, authenticity certainly comes out in it. You know, I think somebody might be disappointed if they didn't feel it was authentic. You know, there was Josh, you and I talked about this Missing Persons was playing when we were at San Diego at what's that, the really cool smaller place, Humphreys by the Bay.
Humphreys, yeah. I love it there.
And Andy Sinise was playing drums with Missing Persons, and there was a guy that bought the expensive tickets right up front. He and his girlfriend were there, and I think they're like $250 tickets. And this guy was so livid. Everybody else is having a great time and they're partying and they love Destination Unknown. This guy comes running up and he's yelling at Andy. He's like, cut. And he's doing this drum thing. And he's mad because it's not Terry Bozzio playing drums. And he's doing all the drum fills that Andy wasn't doing. And I was shooting live video and I was laughing so hard I could hardly keep the camera still, thinking this guy's entire night was ruined because, you know, he didn't get to see his favorite drummer playing. And he was going to make sure that everybody knew that he knew all the drum fills and he knew that this is an imposter. But for the most part, the authenticity that you present, you know, like the authentic Gareth on stage is absolutely 100% filling the part the right way, because you play for the part. You know, that you've got the gorgeous long extended guitar part for Died in Your Arms and the intro. But,
well, that's a gift. I mean, it's a gift for me, that, you know, so it totally is. That, you know, a lot of players don't get that.
They don't,
you know, get that sort of opportunity to just, you know,
right,
just be for like 5 or 6 minutes, whatever, or 12 on some nights.
But you serve the other songs so well that it doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to show off all those chops, that you can just show up and play these beautiful songs as they should be played, and you know, and play them the way that you do. And it's wonderful that there's enough respect and trust from Nick to embrace that too. You know,
that's very much it. It's you know, that's clear that there's a trust and but going back to the what you said before, it's a unit. It's you perform together, and that's how it works. And if anybody's if there's a cog in the wheel which isn't oiled, or or not interested, then it's an issue. And
right.
Luckily, that's never been the case with any of our lineups.
I've done 35, 40 interviews in the last 2 months for the new album, Kev, and many times it gets round to Gareth's playing on the album, because it's just me and Gareth with the orchestra, and a couple of very, very good session players, and it always comes down to this kind of very, very neat paragraph, and it ties in beautifully with Kevin, and it's the only thing that's similar about the two, really, and that is this. And I think it should happen in every band, and hopefully on every time you do a show on Broadway or in a tiny little hall in Portland, is that when egos get in the way, then it crashes.
Right.
And it's hard, when you're a famous person, or you're a very rich person, you might be shit at your job, you might be the best on the planet, but egos are there. With Gareth and me, that doesn't happen. And the only time we've ever had a couple of real little run-ins, not bad ones, is when I got it wrong a couple of times, got a bit huffy, and that was only ego, nothing else, nothing about anything else at all. So it's never been there. So you trust and you let them run with it. And, somebody would say, give them enough rope to hang themselves.
I've had yards of that.
He lets me and I let him.
That's a beautiful combo. The Climb Aboard track that was the first song that you guys co-wrote and did the vocal share together. How did that song come about? How did you guys put that piece together?
Gareth.
Thank you, Nick.
You did all the work.
Well, fair enough. That's the product of a lot of sort of cutting and pasting, and of existing orchestral parts, really, and then to sort of fitting them around an idea of a song, which we literally shared, phone messages. I've got this idea on the answer machine. Okay, maybe we could do this, and then kind of jammed it all together, basically, and that's the essence of creativity, I suppose.
Yeah.
When you have to do something, and I'd written my idea of what it should be, and then Nick wrote what his idea should have been, and his was better than mine. So there you go.
It was an unusual way to write a song. It was our first one, and I'm sure there are many other ways we can do it quicker as well. But Gareth tells the first part well. These were just bits of strings left over, and he managed to just cut them all into a shape and form. Then threw them back to me, and then I came up with some chords. But of an interest, I hope, the lyric "Climb Aboard" is about. I live 7 miles from where you've seen on the television these dreadful stories of these people traffickers, putting people in boats and landing them over on the south of England. Yeah, the dead child in the water. That was just down the road from me. It's still happening. I think they got 420 people were intercepted last week, and 420 the week before, and 420 before. So this song is about that, and it's a kind of a trick lyric where the chorus is "Climb aboard, come on, and feel 6 feet taller. A healthy swell, come on." And the verse tells of the dark side of it.
Sorry, I was sharing a little bit of that. Yeah, I didn't want to blast you out. I was going to have it be quiet there while
I got it.
Then I'm just giving people a tease because it's not fair to give them Gareth without the facial expressions, right? And the movement. We need you moving around for those lessons or those solos. I have had this long-standing description of the faces that guitarists make when they're playing. You can always tell their sex face when you see them on stage, and I now know exactly what Gareth looks like in bed, because he's got the best sex face on stage while he's soloing. You know,
Let's go.
Yeah, so anyone,
Let's go.
all these crazy fans that are out there that have these great photos from all these shows, go back and look through your photos, watch the videos that you have of Gareth playing guitar, and now you know what he looks like when he's having sex. So
it's so great when the photos come back, you know, after any show, they always use the ridiculous faces. It's like, oh my, yeah, honestly, I know.
You should
I remember
be proud of that.
You know, I sort of am, because it's weird that I actually don't, I sort of don't care, because I know that that is what I look like, and I can't help it, because if I unship my face from my expression, then it's just not as powerful for me. So it doesn't happen.
It's authentic.
But I do remember turning up at one of the Butlins or Pontin shows or whatever, and they had this picture of me right outside the place.
Oh no!
No picture of Nick, just me as well.
Oh.
That was why it was quite funny in the first place. It's like, tonight, cutting crew, just me, not him.
Oh,
but this, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the word gurn. It's something that you do to your face when you contort it.
Okay.
In the north of England here, we years back, they used to have gurning competitions where you know, a man would put his head through a wreath and then pull the craziest face he could, you know, and that's what we did for, you know, to fill the time in the north of England.
That's really sad. Oh my God,
you know, so I obviously it's come down through the DNA somehow. So I've got the gurn in me.
The gurn in you.
The gurn from yeah.
Look, you know, I spend years trying to protect my brand. Okay.
Yes.
And now there's posters all over the world of this man pulling a face called Cutting Crew.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'd love to do is find pictures of you guys all gurning. Josh, you're gonna have to work on this pre-beard gurn if we can find one.
Oh, dude. I look like I'm having an aneurysm when I play, so I was like,
no, you don't.
You do not.
You do not. No, you've got a very
chins come out.
Nope. You've got, no.
Jabba the Hutt.
We won't be talking about the chins. I'm the chin king. That's horrible. I see that our friends Clive Farrington are on right now. He says misses you guys. And Catherine Cluth says she loves Climb Aboard. She said, "Are there any other ones in the works?" Well, yeah, there
absolutely.
Are.
Absolutely.
And, she wants to know if you'll play Climb Aboard live.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
One that gets it remains to be answered.
Well, who's the question from?
Catherine Cluth.
Catherine Cluth. I think I've heard of this name before. I think she might be from up there in Ottawa. I think she's a Canadian.
Oh, man. That's not a Canadian accent.
That's definitely not a Canadian accent. But,
I think she's Canadian.
I think she's Canadian.
You've been watching Trump linguistics. Sorry,
but I'm very sorry.
Oh, don't start me off.
Oh no!
Don't start me off.
What I wanted to add to the conversation was that everybody, including Teresa and Anthony down there in Galveston, very, very good friends we made down in Punta Cana. I love you lots, and from Nikki as well. Is that what we were able to do in Tokyo and what we do in Germany and occasionally in Britain, but we've never really done it in America ever, is my dream, and that is that to play a proper Cutting Crew show, you know, where you get an hour, if you can bear it, an hour and a half almost, then you see the real thing, because I have no preciousness about Died in Your Arms, I've Been in Love Before, One for the Mockingbird, you know, those are our songs, and we can do a damn good 5-song show. But I'd like to throw it back to Josh. You know, he sat there behind the drums in Tokyo. We played an hour and a half, and I think we played maybe 2 covers, and all the rest were through the albums, like every band does. This is nothing special, but it's so important, because that's when you get us. That's when you really get us. That's when you hear the stories. That's when you hear the interplay. There's much more interplay than just when you're playing songs. You know, the interruptions during the, you know, Nick, shut the fuck up, all that kind of stuff. and those songs you've never heard before that you just think, wow, because he told us what it was about, you know.
Yeah.
And can I throw that back to Josh? You know, it's a journey, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
And he didn't mean journey songs. He actually meant that it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When we got to play in Tokyo for a full set, yeah, and we got to play the Scattering, which was my first time. I think it was the first time when we played that song.
Yeah,
was in
absolutely.
Tokyo. Yeah, it just felt like this sort of well that just keeps on giving. You know, I was like, oh wow, like I hadn't played it, I hadn't experienced it up until that point, and that song really moved me. And I love it when we can do an hour and an hour and a half. You know, it's
you can shape something, can't you? You know, if you've got 45 minutes and more, you know, you can sort of actually, you know, fashion something which has a dynamic and a direction and a, you know, shades, and then hopefully, you know, kind of take off towards the end in some way. But it's very difficult to do that in I mean, me and Nick have done, like, you know, 11-minute shows sometimes, right. You know, where you yeah, which is a hell of a challenge, because you have to hit the ground running immediately, you know, and then get off, you know. So
like relationship communication, right? If it's an 11-minute conversation, it's got to be superficial and really surface for a lot of people. But if you've got an hour and a half and you can sit down and get a little bit deeper, you can share that with your audience, whether it's 2 people or 20,000 people. There's an opportunity for you to go somewhere past the surface. That is a really beautiful thing. And
agreed. It must never be superficial, though. I think even if it's a 6-minute show, you know, it should never be superficial.
I agree. I mean, every conversation, it would be nice to not have superficial conversations also, but it is tough to ask someone, so how are you doing? And if you really do want to know how they're doing, buckle up. You know?
Not so good, actually, Kev. Not so good.
Yeah.
Have you got how long have you got?
That was the greatest Ricky Gervais right there. Oh my God. that was Ricky Gervais extras. Speaking of Ricky Gervais, Josh, you do an amazing impersonation of somebody out on the road. I was going to see if you want to do that now, but no, you don't need to. That's okay. See, folks, there are some things that happen backstage and after the show.
They should remain hidden.
Yeah,
they should remain hidden.
We're privy to those things. That's like the secret society. So get yourself in a band, and or just like ply Josh with a couple of Coronas, and you're gonna get to see. Gareth is the real actor, I think, in this group, but I think we're really close to getting the next tier from Josh. And you know, we all have to pivot and shift and find new ways to do. To find, you know, economic means during this time if we're not gigging. So I think if you you've got an avenue there, Josh, at least with
it's quite a niche. It's quite niche though. It
is. Yeah. Nick, did you do some acting as well?
Not really, but there's a nice sort of full circle between Gareth and me there. He can tell you in a minute what he's been up to lately, which is fabulous. But I got my chops break, whatever you want to say. My confidence was at school, where it was just the end of the Harry Potter grammar schools. You know, I did go for 1 year to the guys walking around with black capes and a flat hat. And 1 year later, that was completely gone. And we had these things called comprehensive schools, where, you know, everybody from any abilities were all mixed together and shine in your own way. And we had a great drama teacher, and we used to write our own productions, and it was quite amazing, really, looking back. I mean, they were good as well. And I would write the songs and I'd sit on a stool and would narrate the action that you'd just seen. That's nothing special, but the subject matters were quite incredible. I mean, one was called Shoot, and it was about terrorism. And the other one was called Touch and Go, and it was about sexism and misogyny. And this is 1972, being performed by 16-year-olds. You know, so we probably thought we were pretty special. But I got my chance to write songs, and nobody threw anything. So
yeah, that's a win.
It is.
You're very theatric in the way that you present on stage too. You know, you're very dramatic and engaging. So I would imagine that it wouldn't be a stretch to see you in either musical theater or you know, somewhere out on stage doing something beyond just singing your heart out.
A very cheeky lady interviewer from Brazil only a couple of months ago said, "So Nick, what would you like? What do you think you'd be doing now if you know died? Take died in your arms away. What you doing now?" And I said, "I'd probably be in a chorus line in London. Oh, there's no business like show business."
I love that. I can see that tomorrow.
Well, darling, you have a boomer, as they say, the voice. You have a boomer, so you could easily do that.
That's metaphoric. I know, man.
It's not.
But I mean, in the States, the boomer is something else. But that's all right. Well,
explain.
Well, Mike May got to see his boomer backstage when.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a common thing for Nick to just go pantsless backstage?
I couldn't possibly comment. I mean, I'd be giving away a trade secret there. You know?
Well, Mike was so impressed. I remember him walking out just astounded, and it wasn't because the fact that it was a naked guy; it was the endowment that was there. He said, "My God," and he had no problem at all. Just like there it was, and he's hanging.
I just want to say one thing. This right here defines the term all access.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I wasn't going to, but I am going to share this one picture. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, tell your daughter I'm sorry. So Gareth, you were like, Nick alluded to your acting. You want to talk a little bit about your what you're doing right now to perform?
Well, right, yes. Well, it's again, obviously we're all off at the moment, but what I was doing, less of the acting really, but more of a two-man show, which was written by a wonderful actor and a brilliant friend of mine, Gary Lagden, his stage name, and which is all about our sort of joint heritage. I'm Welsh by background. He's very, very Welsh by background. So it's about Welsh rugby, and it's a two-man play. It's about an hour long, and he said to me, "We've been saying for years we should do something together. We'd really love each other, and we'd share a common sort of ideal." And he said, "Well, write some songs for this, So I did, and the result was it's a brilliant bit of work. It really is, and I'm saying that not from my perspective. He's such a wonderful actor, and it's such a heartfelt show. Me and him on stage, just very basic. There's no tricks.
Right.
We just turn up and do it, and it's been really, 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 really well received wherever we've done it. 5-star reviews, in the British theatre. So we've got big hopes for it. Just that we keep on doing it, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
But it is.
There it is. Yeah,
and Black. That's my EP. Yeah. So the show's called Fly Half, which is a position in rugby union.
I've got Red and Black in my CD player in my car right now.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
It's so good. I love it.
Nick, Josh, have you seen this play that Gareth's been doing?
I have not. No.
How about you, Nick? Do you fly? Do you drive up in the country? And
no, I'm not one bit interested actually. It doesn't really. I don't find anything about it attractive. So.
He comes and takes his pants off in the audience.
No, they sell out. They've had a couple I've asked to go to, and they were already gone. And Gareth offered me tickets for one last year, and that was when I was mandokiing with funny old American guys. So I haven't seen it yet, but I've read the reviews. I've got the EP, of course, and it's just beautiful. I can't wait. I bet you in the live moments when you sing those songs, Gareth, it must be very special.
The whole thing kind of sums up where we're at. I was talking to Gary the other day about this, and he's always been very keen on us only ever performing it live in the room, so never filming it or
well, that's
remove.
That's
Go on,
part of
Kev,
that's the theatric way, right? I mean, you're not supposed to have that
No,
document.
completely. But I mean, it's funny because we've been approached a lot to record it and do it for radio and maybe adaptations, maybe, you know, sort of ideas of.
Right.
And do you know, it doesn't happen unless you're in the room. I don't think
Right,
this,
sure.
particularly this play, you know, and but that also goes for what we do as well. You know, you can look at us on YouTube, you know, live in Kaiserslautern or wherever, or you know, in Ohio, and you get an idea of what the show's like, you know. But until you come to a show, you don't get the thing. I mean, sometimes
You're
people
right.
say to me, "Oh my God, I had no idea you were that's what you were. I didn't think you were that good." You know, and it sounds ridiculous, I know, but people have an idea about who you are, and if they're not necessarily a fan, you know, then but they know the song, you know, Die in Your Arms, for instance.
You know, that is it's unfortunately a situation for a lot of people that maybe are, you know, just surface fans. You know, they were 80s fans and they like a lot of music, but they may know a hit or two from each of the bands that come in the packages until they see the show, and then they realize that they hear these other songs and think, oh my God, yeah, the breadth and depth of the talent in these bands is so much stronger. And I love the variation of the bands. It's really great to be able to have bands like the Vapors and Motels and Missing Persons and Wang Chung Cutting Crew and Flock of Seagulls and you know, all these different various, you know, bands from the era that were all blowing up the radio then, but you get to, you know, it's not like, you know, you talked about the Rewind festivals and a lot of those UK festivals. It's very similar that you get those artists doing their big hits there. The disappointment I have is that most of those artists that I've seen are just the primary artist with a backing band for almost everybody.
Yeah.
And you don't get the energy that happens, the synergy that happens, the collaboration and the chuckles and the laughs. And, you know, I've seen shows where like Gareth, you're on Nick's shoulder while you're playing your solo, you know, just like as you guys have a laugh together in that moment. And that doesn't happen for some of those festivals, but when we all get together, it does. And I love it. I was enjoying the background behind Josh. This was really great. He had
what was going on? What was going on?
He had someone creeping stuff right behind him. He was trying to move some furniture, but
it's drink. It's got to be.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's getting served.
I've just got a new. Hang on, Jim, come here. Come. Very quickly. Oh,
yes.
He's gone.
You have your puppy?
It was going to be the greyhound, but he's gone.
Oh, the greyhound! Look at I have a hound of my own right here. I've got my pug. He wants to say hi.
A pug, fantastic.
This is Edgar Allan Pug.
Oh my
look at
God!
that.
Look at that.
Who's that? There's Gareth and Josh.
Edgar Allan Pug. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I've got my in-ears in, so he can't hear you guys talking.
Look at him.
This guy. I was trying to figure out how I can get him back on tour because he's a good pup. Are you a good dog?
Beautiful.
Yeah. He won't leave my side. That's one thing that he loves. The silver lining for him with the pandemic is that since I'm home, I'm with him all the time.
Yeah,
you know, he sleeps on my head. That's what my hair looks like this all the time.
Not mine.
And conversely, and conversely, whether Josh can back this up, but sorry, did I talk over something?
No, you can.
What's Josh got? What you got, Josh?
Oh, that's my. I'm quarantining with my friend Matt, and this is his dog, Samantha.
What's going on with Sam's headpiece?
Sam just had ear surgery, so she's got a little bonnet on.
Okay.
So she's probably a little embarrassed that she's on live TV right now with a little bonnet. But
who's going to explain to Sam that is not the proper way to stop the coronavirus? It doesn't go on your head.
Anyway, sorry, Nick. Continue.
No. I it's hard to just that. Vinny, our bass guitarist, is coming down on Wednesday, and he said that he's got cats, and they're the opposite. You know, they're like, when are you going to go back to work and leave me alone in my house?
Right, you're filling up my space. Yes, like that. Cats do have that kind of personality. Yeah. Well, you know, hopefully you guys all have, you know, some pets or people in your lives right now that can kind of, you know, celebrate some downtime with you. You can see those as silver linings and be productive and positive. And if not, we're just going to have to do more virtual hangs that I can give you guys the driest hugs you'll ever have from me. So
ain't that the truth?
Yeah, it's
you me both. We're both sweaters, aren't we?
Oh,
Me and you.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
Josh, do you remember we were backstage at the Greek Theater, and we went on for sound check, and I warned Prairie Prince. I said, "Oh no, it was Denver. It was Denver at Fiddler's Green." I said, "Man, after sound check, I said, I'm already drenched. It's so flipping hot and humid out there. You're gonna die." And he goes, "Dude, the only time I'm ever sweaty at a gig is when you hug me." So yeah, and he said it kind of endearing, like it was a little bit of love in there, but I understand. I'm the sweaty guy, man. It's bad. But I'll endure the sweat in my hot office here just so I get to hang out with you guys late at night. I am so excited about your record. The new record, the orchestral record, is phenomenal. The stuff that you sent is going to be a nice escape for people right now, in their as they're working on their gardens in their backyard. They can listen to the beautiful voice of Nick and wonderful chiming and strumming from Mr. Moulton. I want to thank you guys all for hanging out with me today. It's so nice to see your faces. It really is. Will you hug your respective people for me? And Josh, you just get a hug from your man crush right here. Okay. I love you. Gareth Moulton, Nick Van Eede, Josh Thompson. I want to thank you. Thank you to 5 Star Guitars for being here and helping sponsor something that's really fun. I'm glad to know too that a lot of these people who've been following you, they've reconnected here on the chat group. It's just nice to see they're talking about Glitter Girl. I guess you guys might know who Glitter Girl is, and if you don't, they do. But she's all over this thread. So one person asked about the Drivers. Was that your band, Nick?
That was from the old days in Canada. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Awesome. I love
They
it.
were. They're an incredible band.
Yeah.
Truly incredible band. Yeah.
I need to do some research. I need to be listening to this stuff. But
you do.
Thank you, like all of you guys, for hooking me up with your music. Yeah, I got, like I said, I got the Red and Black and Gareth, and Josh has some new stuff that he recorded just for me, which was fantastic per my request. And somebody was asking if you're going to do some of your original stuff recorded. Josh, do you have anything coming out?
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's in
right.
In the pot.
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear.
Well,
I'm going to crash your goodbye thing just for one thing. I'm going to throw the gauntlet down. Okay, I need to have these people, 2 other people, to keep me doing it.
Yep.
I only have Facebook as my main outlet. I know Gareth has one and other things, but I want to do this thing once a week. How about the 3 of us once a week? I do 1 week, Josh does the next, Gareth does the next. A song. My invention was a song by an artist that nobody's heard before. So a song they've never heard before. I know what my first song is going to be. Neil Young, Tell Me Why. If I go out in a week's time with that recorded here, sitting now, would you do one the following week, Gareth?
Absolutely.
And you following week, Josh?
You bet your ass.
I love it. Song. You're wanting each person to record a song that they've never heard, or that the people in the crowd.
That if it was Neil Young, then it's not going to be After the Gold Rush, yeah?
Right.
Yeah. So an unknown. Yeah.
Okay.
Lesser known.
I love that.
Sailing hardships on broken waters, out on the waves. Never heard it before, have you?
Oh my God, this is great though. How cool though that at a moment's notice he could throw down the gauntlet and grab the guitar, show you how it's done, and then hit the road. That's professionalism, ladies and gentlemen. That is that's rock stardom at its best.
Why do you think we've survived so long?
That's the truth, man. It keeps surviving. It's that and masks. So I'm thankful that you guys stayed healthy enough to make it through our hang. Folks, definitely keep an eye out for the new Cutting Crew album, which is titled
Ransomed, Healed, Restored, Forgiven, from the old Christian hymn, Praise my soul, the King of heaven, to his feet thy tribute bring, ransomed, healed, restored, forgiven.
I feel like I just went to church. Beautiful.
Never got past that line.
I'll get the end bit.
My meditation phase is done. There's only one thing left to do, guys. Got to push the button.
Oh shit!
Push the button.
Yeah. Here we go,
Wow.
ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna count this down in 3, 2, 1.
Here it is. Ready?
Yep.